Today I'm going to be prepping batting and fabric for the new Kimberbell Pumpkins and Potions Ladder Quilt. I have my rulers and my batting. I will be using the Warm and Natural batting that I cut to size. I have my fabric kit that will open in just a minute. I have all of my organizing packets, masking tape to label. I have Post-it notes with a Sharpie and clips for my batting, and the fusible interfacing to go on the back of the fabrics. Let's get started. When you purchase the book, it comes with a CD that has all of the embroidery files for you to save and download onto your computer so that you can take the designs to your machine or open in embroidery software. This instruction book is very detail-oriented and has lots of pictures and great directions to make the quilt. I take my book to a copy center to get a coil binding on the side, as well as the clear plastic cover so it protects the front and the back. And as you can see, the first time they bound my brand new book, they put the binding on the wrong side. So I have nice decorative holes on the right side of my book. Let's get started cutting our batting. I'm going to be using the Warm and Natural cotton batting. Kimberbell does have their own project batting, but any low loft batting should work. I buy a large 90-inch by 96-inch piece, which is the size for a full-size quilt, and I cut them to the sizes that I need. The first thing that I do to prep my batting is open it up, and there are 4 layers, and I will cut a strip just slightly larger than the size that I need the finished batting to be. So for example, if I need 4-inch batting that I need to cut into size, I will cut approximately 4 1/4 inch, and then I will open it up to a single layer and cut it down to exactly the size that I need. To get a list of all the sizes of batting that I need to cut for the entire quilt, I take the book and go block by block to find the size. The size of batting will be the size of the background quilting. So for example, on this block, the background quilting design is the Halloween 9, and it's a 4 by 8 design. So I know that this block, the batting needs to be cut 4 by 8. So I just take a Post-it note and I make a tally of all the sizes. And so when I've gone through the whole book, I'll know how many of each size that I need. The first thing that I did was cut 1 strip each of 4-inch wide batting, 6-inch wide batting, and 8-inch wide batting. So I will open these up and cut them down to the exact size. Then I will go through and just start subcutting into these sizes. I have all of my batting cut to size, and these are the leftovers from the 3 strips. I will put them aside and use on my next Kimberbell project. I will label the batting sizes so that when I'm putting my packets together, it will be easy to tell which batting goes with which block. I'll be using the Pumpkins and Potions fabric kit, but you can source your own fabrics or use fabrics out of your own stash. Always comes with some cute little labels, and it shows what fabrics are being used. And it has everything that we need to finish the quilt. I will first put these in order, and then I am going to press the fabric. I will not put the fusible interfacing on until after I cut. Kimberbell has a fabric cutting diagram that shows the fabric and the best way to cut. I will end up with quite a bit of extra fabric, which is always great. I will keep that in the box in case I need it or want to use it for something else. So let me get these all in order and let's start cutting. Let me show you how I cut the fabric. I don't use the grid lines on my cutting mat. I use the markings on my ruler. On Kimberbell, they give you a diagram of the best way to cut. So when I line this up, for example, this very first piece, it will need to be 2.5 inches wide and then cut into 2 more pieces. So how I would do that is I take my ruler, and I do mark my rulers with a sticker at the top. This will always go to my top right. These rulers can kind of be confusing because they have marks all around, and it's just easy to pick this up and know that this will go in the top right corner. So when I'm cutting this first piece, it needs to be 2.5 inches wide. I will take my ruler, top right corner with the sticker, and I will line it up to the 2.5 and make sure that it's straight. You can line it up along the bottom and along the top. And that is going to be my first cut. This piece I will just put aside. I will keep all of my extra fabric. Now I need to cut that 2.5 inch wide piece. I need to cut it to 2 inch and then a 1.5 inch. So I will have one piece that's 2 inch by 2.5 and one piece that's 1.5 by 2.5. So I will just turn, and the first piece will be 2 inches. Sticker in the top right corner. So this will be on the 2 inch line. So I can see that it's 2 inches by 2.5 inches. And then this next piece needs to be 1.5 inch wide. So I will mark at the 1.5 inch and the 2.5. This little extra piece will be put off to the side. So now I have my little 2 inch and 1.5 inch pieces that are both 2.5 inches long. That's how I will cut every fabric. Of course, that was an easy one because it's small. There are pieces of fabric that have lots of cuts. And so, for example, I would lay out this black fabric and I would cut one strip 5.5 inches, and I would just cut it the whole length. Another one at 5.5 and another one at 6. And then subcut those into the smaller pieces. And always keep the leftover fabric. I'll do one more of the small pieces, and this just needs to be 2.5 by 2.5. So I can mark with my ruler at 2.5. I need to bring this down to 2.5. And then I can just cut this. I could just cut the whole way if I wanted, but there's my little 2.5 inch square, and I will put this to the side and save it. I'm down to the last two pieces of fabric. They are the borders and the binding, and these are cut the width of fabric, which means from the selvage, I have the selvages up here, this is folded in half, selvage to selvage, so that whole entire long strip, this is a fold. This is the only time that I do cut using the markings on my mat because it's so long and I need my long ruler. So let me finish these up. Now it's time to put fusible interfacing on almost all of the fabrics. The only fabrics I will not be adding these to are the ties that will tie the quilt to the ladder at the very end, the fabrics that will be used for the plaid pieced block, the fabrics that will be used for the pieced 4 patch, and then the fabrics that will be pieced for the flying geese blocks. Anything that is pieced, I am not going to back. It just adds too much bulk. I will back everything else. The way I back my blocks is to just piece them together on top of the stabilizer. This has the fusible face up. I've cut this little excess piece off and we'll fuse those two. And then I will just start piecing these together the best way that they fit. I will lightly press them to adhere, and then I will cut them apart and give them a really good press to make sure that the fusible stabilizer is well adhered. I will repeat these same steps for the rest of the material and lightly adhere the fusible interfacing to the back. Once I have them all cut apart, I will apply heavy pressure for 10 to 15 seconds to get them well adhered to all the backs of the fabric. I have all of the fabrics with the interfacing adhered well. Here are my piece blocks that do not have interfacing. I'm ready to grab my embellishment kit, my batting that I cut earlier, so that I can get my packets put together. I'm ready to put my packets together. I have all of my fabric laid out. I have my packets, some masking tape and a Sharpie to label. I have all of my batting that I cut, and I have my embellishment kit. I will go through the book, and each block I will see what needs to be in the packet. On my embellishment kit, I do not cut anything to size, so I will put all of the items into its own packet, and when a block uses something out of the embellishment kit, I will just grab it, use it, and then put it back. This helps save on items in the embellishment kit, and I'm able to use for another project. Here are all the items from the embellishment kit in its own packet, and I will put all of the packets into this box so that the entire quilt is organized and I can just pull packets as I need them. Let's work on a few packets. I go through the book start to finish. So the first block that I'm going to do is this Happy Haunting, and it just has the background fabric, and then of course it will have the batting. It's a black fabric, and so here's my stack of black fabric. I know that it's going to be the large, and on black fabric especially, I will lint roll, and I will probably do this before I quilt. I press on a wool mat, and so sometimes there gets little fuzzies. So I need the black fabric, and then I also need the batting. I can tell the batting size. I cut my batting to size, and it's the same as the background quilting, so I know this needs a 4x6 piece of batting. I will take the batting that I prepared earlier, and I will find the 4x6, and then I will just take a piece out. And this will be the only thing in this packet. I will label, and I will put the page number, which is page 11. So when I pull this packet and I'm ready to work on it, I will know that in the book I need to go to page 11 for the directions. And that's all that is in that packet. I will put that in my little box. Now several of these have just the background fabric and the batting, so I'm going to skip those. The next packet that I'm going to do is the Little Bit Batty. It's on page 23, and I need the background fabric, which is this orange swirl, and I know it's this piece because it's the only big piece of that kind. Then I need the circle, which is the little polka dot, 6x6, and that's this one. Then it has the black glitter that will be for the bat. However, that comes out of the embellishment kit, so I will pull that black piece of glitter out when I'm ready to stitch this out. And then I need the batting. The batting, I know, is 6x6 because that matches the quilting size. So I will get my batting that I have prepared, and I will look for the 6x6, and I will pull one and add it to this packet. And those are the only things that need to go in this packet. I've made a little label that has the page number and just a name of the block. I will put this in my little box. Let's do one more. I wanted to show one more. I have the 31. It has that large orange square. I know it's this fabric because that's the only other large orange square that has a design. And then I need, for the circle, I need some black fabric. Now, here is the black fabric that I have left, and I don't have a 5x5 inch square, so I know that that's not solid black. So if you're ever not sure what material, you can go to the front of the book. There's two ways to check. You can always come to the black fabric and see if there is a number 31. So we know that we cut our fabric right and it's not that solid black. So then I would find the other black materials, and here lists the 31 for the circle. And it's even hard to tell, and it almost looks black. I can tell it has a little bit of a pattern, but it's pretty dark. So then I know that this material also is in the flying geese. So if I wanted to double check, I could pull my flying geese. Those are the ones that I did not back because they are pieced. I could look through here for the flying geese and see the dark fabrics. And here is the fabric that is the same as a 31. It's kind of a little linen look. It has little lines in it. And I have one piece of fabric that's a 5x5 square. So I know that that belongs with this packet. So that's just another way to check in case you think you have the wrong fabric. You can double check with the cutting guide. So I will add that. Let's get back to our 31, which is on page 31. That's cute. And then I need, for the third, I need the fabric for the number 31, and that's going to be a white or an off-white, and it's a 3.5 by 2.5. So here is my light fabric. Now this is where the little ruler comes in handy. There's a lot of little pieces. It's probably this one, but if I wasn't sure, I could look, and here is my, let's go back to the 2.5 by 3.5. So it's 2.5 by 3.5. So I know this is the piece that needs to go with this 31 block. And then I need the batting, which the quilting size is 6 by 6. So I will pull another 6 by 6 and add that. And these are the pieces for my 31 block. It's on page 31, and it's the 31 block. So that's 3 packets, and I'll continue to do all of the blocks in the book like this. I'm going to go back to the front of the book and go block by block through the book. I've done the happy haunting, so I will just go block by block through the book. Here are my packets all ready to go. I keep everything organized in a little bin. I keep my book in the front. I have all of my packets in order of how I will sew them, which is different than the order of the book. I have my embellishment kit with all of the embellishments that I will just pull when needed. And then I have my fabric box that has my excess fabric and the backing. Let's get started on the Pumpkins and Potions quilt.